All right, welcome to the Maturity Project. I am your host, Chad Everett Broshears. Let's talk about hardship. Let's talk about the tough stuff. Let's talk about it like, you know what? It's conditioning. When you have a specific goal in your life, you've got things to work towards. And then you have a whole lot of stuff. Like you have the idea about what you want to accomplish, and then you have a whole lot of stuff you don't know what's coming. Some of those things will be fairly minor, but yet still uncomfortable. And some of those things will seem like they're going to end you. Or that it would be the validatable reason to give up. Well, it's all conditioning. So it's a maturity project, right? Like there's 8 areas of maturity. Oh, there is a lot in each one of the areas. And we really don't seem to have the kind of support system necessary to help us understand what it's like to go through all of the stages of development and maturing necessary to be successful with the things that we want to achieve in life. So let me add this real quick. By the way, like and subscribe to the channel if you do find value in this, and that if you'd really like to cheer somebody on, whether I'm the person you want to cheer on, or it's somebody on my team, or somebody in your life that you really want to just kind of like cheer on, to say, look, man, I'm here to support you. Shoot them over one of the videos from this. If this is what works for you, look, we're all in this together. It's life. And find people that want to support you and that you'd like to support. So if I'm one of those lucky people, then by all means, please, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like bell, the like button, the bell notification, all that fun stuff. I'm all about failing forward and failing up. I don't do everything right the first time. Very seldomly do. I seem to be built for grinding out everything that I go through in order to become better at it. So I usually don't get a lot of the lucky bullseyes on the first shot, unfortunately. But the good thing about that is that I don't give up, and I will figure out how to make it work successfully without being unethical. Preference is typically to keep things in the virtuous direction and be ethical as much as possible, but that doesn't mean I haven't messed up. So with that, my process has given me a lot of wonderful hardships. And those hardships are simple. Challenges are lessons until you refuse to learn the lesson, and then those challenges become problems, and those problems have the habit of becoming chaos. So, with that being said, I'm not your guru, I'm not out to try to do that. I'm the guy you can sit down and have a beer with. I'm the guy that has made plenty of mistakes, but I own them. Absolutely own them. I have had every single one of the 8 areas. I have had great challenges. I have had without the realization, the challenge of the lesson, I've had a lot of problems that have come out of not knowing that the challenge was a lesson. But fortunately, I have had that insight for some time, but I've experienced it in life, and I still do, because it's plenty of areas that you're just not aware. You do it the way you do it, and you didn't realize that you had choice in the way that it's happening, and that you kind of like just did whatever you were shown to do and keep doing it. So I know I'm speaking kind of esoterically here and not really giving a whole lot of substance to it, but I'm sure you can relate, and you don't have to have the subject matter direct in order to relate to it. You just get it. No, life's not easy. Actually, here's something for you. If you change the perspective on a situation, life isn't easy. And then it is. Life kind of has an interesting flow to it. The more prepared you are for something, the easier it seems. But a lot of us aren't prepared for what we want to experience or what we're getting into. So it can be harder. And if you got something on the line, it seems even harder because you have something you don't want to lose. So, yeah. So all the 8 areas. I've had physical challenges, the injuries I've done to myself in the gym, done to myself in my play, in my life playing around, especially in my youth. The community, I have definitely made some mistakes and, damaged relationships when I wasn't as responsible for who I am, especially in my youth. But that doesn't exclude, things in my 40s. I've done it there too. Uh, it's just realizing at a deeper level, who those people are in my community and who I am in my community. So that's the second area of maturity. Third area of maturity is knowledge. And here's an interesting thing: is that the smarter that you get, there is a higher probability that you'll start to be experienced as being arrogant. But you may not have that intention, but the person receiving you, they may see it that way. And where you are responsible for that is if you realize it and then you tell yourself that it's up to them to keep up, versus let me see if I can communicate this in such a way that it doesn't seem like, that I'm just speaking at a higher level. I am not Mensa material. I'm not some hyper and uber intelligent individual. At least I don't think so. I'm just highly, highly curious about everything. So I want to learn as much as possible. So that's knowledge. It's the third area of maturity. Emotions. There have been plenty of times, and even recently, within the last couple of years, where I'm like, look, I'm going to be as responsible for myself as I possibly can, but you need to be responsible for you, very similar to the intellect thing. And it can be irresponsible. Even though I'm being responsible for me, because the people in my life, I may be like, hey, man, you just need to keep up with you. That's first level responsibility. But I'm about radical responsibility at this age, which means I've got to be even more responsible, which is I have to be over there in responsibility as well, but in a way that gets them to understand that I'm not solely over on my side going, yeah, I'm responsible for me, but everything else is on you. It is emotions. And I got to tell you, if you don't know how to communicate with other people, it is easy for them to put what they believe you should be doing and how you should feel about them into your world. But they build it in theirs, and then it turns into this clashing experience and or disappointment, upset, whatever it might be. But it's not desirable. Radical responsibility does take a lot more than just going, hey, I've said everything I need to say, I own what I had to say, and I own who I am and how I am. But radical responsibility pulls in the community aspect as well, because look, other people are going to experience you, and the best thing to do is to do everything you can to make sure that they're experiencing you, the best way possible. I'm not saying going around and stopping everybody going, how'd you experience me? It's when you're in those close relationships or community groupings, and you verify that it's kind of like what we would refer to in the power industry when I was working in that three-part communication. It's just you're verifying that what you said is what they heard and having somebody say it back. Now, I'm not saying do this in every single conversation, but doing it in highly meaningful conversations can offset a lot of upset. So radical responsibility and emotions. That's more where I'm at. So I take a different degree of responsibility when I talk to people, especially in that. So, and it's a practice. I'm not perfect at it. I'm working on it. So fail forward, fail up. That's that. Finance, definitely. I've got a lot of development to go there. Just in standard spending and part of the problem that I also have is I don't like to spend money on myself at all. Really don't. So that's something that I've got to get over, not just learn how to invest and, how to figure out how to get more money coming in, which is typically through business maturity, which is the next one. And I've made my own mistakes there as well. So going through this to really put it out there is like, look, man, we all make them. It's just don't give up. Just because you weren't successful on your attempts doesn't mean you should stop. Or, like I have done, which is, find your safety. On the entrepreneur side, which is business maturity, there's definitely been a lot of attempts in my life where I'm like, hey, I'm stepping out. I'm going after my own thing. Like when I left the power industry after 10 years, and it was a grueling 10 years, by the way. I was a temporary employee for them for 5 years, which they can lay you off at any time, and they'll call you back when they want you, and you'll do whatever job that they offer you. Better pay than average entry level or anything like that. So, it It was for a union, but I didn't get the benefit of that because I wasn't a full-time employee. So I get to watch all the union members experiencing all the great things and the benefits about being a part of the union, and I didn't get any of those things, along with multiples of my peers that were all temporary employees. So yeah, I went through that. So on the business side of things, and at the end of that timeline, after really grinding it out for a good 5 years, I finally got a full-time position, and then I spent 4 years in that, a little over 4, and decided I was going to walk away. I wanted to pursue something else. I didn't want to have that as my life, where I said, hey, I paid my bills, and I had a family that never saw me because I wasn't around because I was working too much and working shift work and all the other fun stuff. And have your family slowly grow to resent you, which is unfortunate, but it happens to a lot of shift workers. I decided I didn't want that. Stepped out of it, went after my, at the time, my passion in fitness, and right into a 1099, so a W-2 with, union benefits and, all kinds of fun stuff. Health, savings, all that fun stuff, and right into a 1099 position without knowing how to run a business. But I had a good mentor, at least for the side being a technician in it, working in a physical therapy office as a corrective exercise specialist, or at least I became one with them, and then after. But I got to tell you, there was some interesting, you can say there were mistakes. They definitely were unsuccessful attempts, at least on the front end, early unsuccessful, but they did benefit me over time. So there's that, the business side of things. Sexuality is the next one in the lineup, which is the 7th area of maturity. And I gotta tell you, that's one of them that I became probably, I would say overdeveloped, but there was a lot of attention throughout my life in that category. Sexuality is not gender preference, who you like to sleep with, that kind of thing, or whatever, gay, straight, whatever it might be. There's a lot more to sexuality, but it is one that I have spent a lot of time just following the bachelor lifestyle, to say the least. And I've made other videos talking about, who I have been in that world. And I've created a lot of sins, if you will, say it lightly. And then I've also gotten into some things that are very unvirtuous, lacking virtue, vice-driven. And I learned from them. I'll say that. So, don't worry, I'm not going to give you a juicy confession right now. Let's just throw it out there. So yeah, that's another area, romantic relationships. And you spend a lot of time distracted by those, or at least a lot of time in that. You can't think about a whole lot of other things, and then you can suffer in other areas. And for me, business and finance were affected by my attention in sexuality, in that category of maturity. So yeah, I'd say areas of neglect occurred, not on that topic of sexuality, but others, because putting a lot of resources and attention into that. So yeah, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I've grown up a little bit there. I try to really be mature about that category. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you I opened an OnlyFans or anything, because that is an unfortunate reality for a lot of people. And I'm not downing them, but they don't realize what they're trading off. The business, sexuality, emotion, and community. Put those things together, and I'll tell you, it can definitely cause problems long-term for relationships of all types, not just whether or not somebody like you, but also how you condition yourself, towards that, the sex of your preference, to say the least there. Yep. So sexuality, yeah, made my mistakes there. Or so I say I've created opportunities for lessons. And then purpose, which is spirituality purpose. That's the 8th area of maturity. And yeah, my biggest sin in that category has been giving up on the pursuit of what my heart calls to, because of needing that safety and security of the 9-to-5 and those kind of things. So stepping out of the 9-to-5, because I'm an entrepreneur at heart, stepping out of that when you're good and stable and you're building up quite a bit, and then you step out and then you go and you take on an entrepreneurial venture, not stick to it, because your heart in part is there, but not enough of it is, and you don't have enough of the other areas of maturity to really help keep up with what you need in order to be stable enough to be successful. If you're not stable enough to be successful, there's a pretty good chance that you are going to eventually tip the boat and you're going to need to find safety. So it's not uncommon. The Maturity Project's all about this. Is like, you know what? You don't have to be as radical about accomplishing your goals. It's how do you keep things like scales? How do you keep them in enough balance that you can stay functional? Because you don't want the scale to be so tipped that one's on the bottom, one's on the top, because that's not really a functional position to be in. And a lot of things that can be problematic at that point. So that's what this is about. Now, this is a growing education. It's actively being developed. I have multiple people involved in it. And if you yourself have interest in finding out more, you can email me, whether that is, hey, I got an area I'm really well developed in and I'd like to speak about it. I actually do have guests that I'm lining up, not just with my team, but to bring guests in to speak with myself and the team and do a little interview. I have one coming up soon that I'll say this, even though it's not typically a good idea to do until after you've recorded it. But a gentleman that I just spoke to recently, he is in the fitness industry, and he also has he's written a book on psychedelics and its relationship to fitness and well-being. So looking forward to that conversation. He's an incredibly interesting guy. So, all right. Well, look, this channel is not about advice. It's not really what it is. It's about insights, stories, examples of things. It takes a lot to get me to the point I give advice, but I'm happy to share insights, and I'm happy to give, specific information that can at least give you a different perspective. But I want you to think your way to where your conclusions are, so you can have the solution for yourself and take ownership over it, versus, advice that can turn into the ask hole, A-S-K hole, where it's just, hey, ask people for help, ask people for help, ask people for advice and insights, and never take it, which can damage relationships. Not necessarily significantly, but it can definitely affect relationships to a degree, which straws on the back of the donkey, man. Before you know it, you can break its back because you have too much. Or is that a camel? I don't know. They're pack animals nonetheless. So, but anyway, look, my goal is this: give some insights. Hopefully I'll be able to, free you up from something you're stuck in. We got a lot of how-tos out there. This isn't a how to do life. This is a how to figure things out for yourself. That's the goal. So I'll give you the tools, and, it's pretty interesting what the human brain will do. So, and what you're capable of. All right, that's it. This is a Maturity Project. I am your host, Chad Everett Rocheers, and do share this video with the person in your life you want to start a meaningful conversation with. Because here's a interesting piece that you should be aware of. When you want to make change in your life, if you do not enroll people that are close to you, they don't know you're up to something. When you go through the stresses, you show that your behavior has changed to some degree, and you're showing stress, whatever, that they notice that you are less happy or satisfied than you were at another time. And their goal typically is going to be doing what they can to bring you back to that place where you seem to be happiest, the place where you seem to actually have your stuff together, or at least satisfied or content or balanced, or whatever the thing is they think you need to remedy your challenges. They don't know you're going through something. They don't know. It's kind of like interrupting a caterpillar while it's in the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. It's like, no, get out of that cocoon. Go back to being a caterpillar. Come back. So that's why you enroll people. You don't have to enroll them, and I don't advise, nor do I pursue the direction of you're going to be a support system for me and help me with adding resources to this. The goal is just to keep them from pulling you back like crabs in a bucket. You just don't want them to pull you back down into the bucket based off the fact they care for you and they want to see you not having to deal with as much stress as you're dealing with. Stress is necessary for change. It is forging the future of who you are. So share this video with the person in your life you want to make a meaningful conversation with. Any of the series, and encourage them also to, subscribe to the channel. There'll be things in here for them as well. It's just be patient and, watch the channel grow and watch us grow. So our goal is to do everything we can to try to make the world a better place, but by empowering people to make it better, not us on our own. and we're not trying to make this, meadows of flowers and, the extremes of what people typically frame a utopia by. No, we're really wanting to make it the world that we can all work together and live together and experience enough, of the right challenges that helps us grow, but not have to feel miserable and, just miserable. We don't have to be with that. You can take these things and turn them into lessons. So, all right, that's it for today, guys. Now, the lessons that we have been given by our failures in the past do give us the opportunity for making tomorrow a success. So let's get up to it. Let's get up to it together. All right. Appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget, subscribe if you haven't already. Put a comment in the comment section if you'd like to start communicating with the community, because that is one step closer to your goals, and get involved in your community. Get involved in our community. Put a comment in the comment section. All right, let's get to it. See ya.